A Pro Bowl edge rusher could be available via trade, and I think the Rams should consider trading for him. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily? And welcome to another edition of Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you want to check out the video version of the show, join the party on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and also let us know, do you want to see the Rams pursue a trade for Vikings Pro Bowl edge rusher Danielle Hunter? My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dmac_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, the Lakers for SI, the Dodgers for Dodgers Nation, but now I'm covering the Rams for Locked On. And today I'm flying solo. Mr. Travis Rogers, he's out today, my partner in crime, the Matthew Stafford of my Stetson Bennett. But we still have a jam-packed show for you. Later, we're talking some Stetson Bennett and some comments that Sean McVay made about Bennett and what has impressed him most about his rookie quarterback from Rams minicamp. And then next, we're talking about the edge rusher position. Could the Rams sign a veteran edge rusher with their newfound cap space after restructuring Cooper Kupp's deal? But first, we're going to start with a possible trade the Rams could make at the edge rusher spot with one of the best edge rushers in the game. And of course, is Vikings edge Danielle Hunter. Now, if you're wondering, wait, how are they going to make this trade? Why is this even a possibility? Well, let me get you up to speed. As expected, Danielle Hunter, he was absent from Vikings mandatory minicamp this week. The 28-year-old is entering the final year of a 5-year, $72 million deal that he signed with the Minnesota Vikings before the 2018 season. And he's scheduled to make just $5.5 million this year. So, yeah, just $5.5 million. I'll take that any day. Real people money, that's a fortune. For Pro Bowl edge rushers, not so much. So he's not happy about it. And the Vikings, they haven't been able to get a long-term extension done. There were some talks. The Vikings, they had offered him a possible Band-Aid deal that would have increased his earnings for the 2023 season, but no dice. They weren't able to come to terms on anything. And so it looks like he's on his way out in Minnesota. And yesterday, Vikings beat writer Ben Gosling, he wrote on Hunter's future with the team. This puts his Vikings future, quote, as much in question as ever, adding it's not too soon to think about what a trade might signify. So we know he is available. We know that teams are calling. Now, will the Rams be one of those teams? Well, first question is, would the Rams trade for him? We know the position they're in. They haven't been aggressive this offseason. It's about the remodel and looking past 2023 to 2024 where they're going to have all that cap space. But this is the Los Angeles Rams, and they're always going to do their due diligence and explore trades when A, it's a star player, and B, said star player is at a premium position, and C, when it's a position of need. We know the edge position, the edge rusher spot is a glaring need for this Los Angeles Rams team, especially after they didn't bring back Leonard Floyd. You didn't make very many moves. You drafted Byron Young out of Tennessee. Yes, he has potential. Yes, he's athletic, but to expect him in year one to come and have a big impact, it's a little unrealistic. I think he's going to have an impact, but it's going to be a big impact. It's going to be an impact enough to help this team in the playoffs and beyond if that is the goal. I think you really need a veteran at that spot if you're serious about winning this year. Now, Hunter is set to make $5.5 million for 2023, and like I just said, they cut back spending. You cut Leonard Floyd. You released Bobby Wagner. You traded Jalen Ramsey. Of course, you look along that line. Greg Gaines is now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So not tons of firepower. You look at Michael Hoyt playing the edge rusher spot. If you look at his size, he's more suited for the inside spot right there. So that doesn't make a ton of sense. So look, if the Rams are going to make a trade, we know it's when they go big game hunting. They shoot for the moon. They go for the stars. It's at a premium position. It's a pass rusher. It's either a cornerback or someone like that. I think the Christian McCaffrey rumors last year, that was the exception. I think all that also had to do with the fact that he could catch passes. He was a dynamic player, and they were close to getting him. I mean, if you look at the Christian McCaffrey deal, if they had a fourth-round pick, he might have been traded to the Rams. But if you look at Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, all these guys they brought in, they've been stars in their position. They've been at positions of need. They've been at premium positions. And we also know, too, the Rams have been after an edge rusher. It seems like all the premium edge rushers that have been made available through trades the Rams have been linked to. You saw last year, Adam Schefter, he reported that the Rams offered 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick to the Panthers for elite pass rusher Brian Burns, and you saw they were linked to Bradley Chubb. You saw they were linked to Chase Young. So at some point, it feels like they are going to pull the trigger on one of these trades for an elite edge. And you also consider the fact that, look, this is a team that wants elite players, but they want them for now and the future. And that's something that I really like about Danielle Hunter. Is this a guy that can help you not just today, but tomorrow? He can be the present and the future. He can be the heir apparent to Aaron Donald as far as the superstar of the future when he's gone. Because he's 28 years old. He still has 4 or 5 prime years left. And I think there's 4 real reasons why the Rams should consider making a move for him. And one, he's one of the best at his position in the league. Yes, you have a first-round pick in 2024, but what are the chances you're going to get an elite edge rusher, right? Not all those picks hit. Not all those picks are guarantees. Last year, at an 86.3 PFF grade, 73.7 run pass defense grade, 78.3 pass rush grade. PFF has him ranked as the 7th best edge rusher in the game. And also, 2, it can work out financially. According to Over the Cap, the Rams are currently projected to have $48.9 million in cap space in 2024. And after restructuring Cooper Kupp's deal, they have around $10.8 million in cap space this year. So when you consider that they still have to pay the rookies, when you consider some of the other moves they can make, if you get him at $5 million, a guy of that talent level, of that caliber, and you get that extension done next season, maybe it is feasible. Now, there is precedent there because you saw when they traded for Jalen Ramsey back in 2019. They didn't sign that extension right away. They had an agreement. They had some talks with his agent. There was an understanding that ultimately they would get the deal done, but he didn't sign that record-breaking deal that was worth over $100 million, where he became the first defensive back in NFL history to sign a deal at that price. They didn't sign that deal until 2020, almost a year after that trade. So typically we see a deal done, an extension done quickly after a trade is made for a player of that caliber. But the Rams have shown that you can move it back. And also the Rams have the 2nd most dead money in the NFL this season. So they do have the ability to create space for the future. So that's another option they have. So as long as there's communication, a plan with the player and the agent, it is possible. I wouldn't completely rule it out. It just comes down to how much do the Rams like Hunter? Do they truly believe he can be that guy? Is he him for this Rams organization in the future? If the answer is yes, you can figure out the financials. We know that. We've seen that. Now, 3, I also think he's a perfect fit for Raheem Morris's 3-4 defensive scheme. He's already proven that he can thrive in a defense where he can stand tall on the edges and make plays, but he can face the front 4, right? He can get his hands down on the grass and make plays that way. So he's a versatile defender. He has experience in that system. And look, if you're trying to build an edge rusher, if you're in the lab, he has all the attributes that you want. He's got the length, the power, the height, the strength, the speed, the athletic ability. He has that in spades. Also, he has great technique, some of the great technique that you're going to find at that position. And he's also had success in mixed fronts. We know that Raheem Morris, he likes to mix it up. So as far as a defensive scheme standpoint, he makes tons of sense. And then 4 is a big one for me. You add a game-changing impact edge rusher that can take some pressure off of Aaron Donald. Look, Aaron Donald, he's the greatest defensive player on the planet, maybe the greatest defensive player ever, but he can't do it all by himself. When you consider the youth and inexperience along this defensive line in the secondary from the linebacker spot, it's going to take its toll on Aaron Donald. And also, too, it's going to make this defense less effective. Look, he needs a Pippen to his Jordan, a Kobe to his Shaq. He can be the most dominant player in the league, but I think this would open things up. So if you have Hunter wreaking havoc there on the edges while Aaron Donald, he does his damage on the inside, that can make this one of the best, most potent pass rushes in the league. So I really like that. I think there's potential here. I'm talking myself into it. And at the end of the day, it comes down to cost. How much is this going to cost? Look, we've seen the infomercial. We're sold on the product. It's now about what is it going to cost? Well, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, he said it could cost a 2nd round pick. And then Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus, he suggests packaging 2 third-round picks. So there is a way to get him without having to part ways with that first-round pick. And I want to see what the Rams can do with the first-round picks. Yes, tons of success in the FM picks era. Yes, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl championship, 4 playoff appearances, lots of success. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but still, I think you want to keep that first-round pick and see what you can do with it. But at the same token, yeah, there's a guy you could get for some high picks, but wouldn't have to part ways with that first-round pick, that coveted first-round pick that the Rams haven't had since 2016, since the Obama administration. So definitely want to keep that pick. I'm definitely sold on the idea. I want to see him in the Rams uniform, but not at a sky-high price. I definitely think, though, it does make a ton of sense, and I think the Rams should at the very least pursue it, contact the Vikings, see what they want, see what the cost would be, and I think he could provide a lot of help. Remember, this Rams team, just 38 sacks last year, just 38 sacks. Definitely tons of help at the edge rusher spot, a position that's been a need for quite some time. But coming up next, we're going to talk about another edge rusher, a veteran they could possibly bring in with their newfound cap space. But first, we're going to talk about our friends over at FanDuel. Make your way to FanDuel, because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So I use FanDuel. Travis uses FanDuel. All my friends use FanDuel. If you're going to bet online, if you're going to bet through an app, FanDuel is the place to do it. You got baseball heating up. You got the U.S. Open, although I would not bet on the Dodgers bullpen right now, but definitely use FanDuel. You got great promotions every day, a safe and secure app. You get paid instantly. And the security, like I said, a safe and secure app, that goes a long way. You don't have to worry about that with FanDuel. So there's no better place to bet all of your summer sports action on America's #1 sports book. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Another reminder, if you do want to see the video version of the show, check us out on YouTube. Join the party. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Search Locked On Rams. Getting close to 7,000 subscribers. And also, special shout out to those everyday listeners. We appreciate you listening every single weekday. And you can be an everyday listener too. Become a member, join the club. You won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. But here in segment number 2, we're focusing once again on the edge rusher position, and we have a potential candidate the Rams could sign. Now, we're going to backtrack a little bit and talk about the newfound money. Now, if you're an everyday listener, you already know, because we talked about it the other day, the Rams, they created some more cap space. And what they did was they converted $13.92 million of Cooper Kupp's base salary into a signing bonus. That created roughly $10.4 million in 2023 cap space. So they got some money to work with. It's not a lot of money, but it still gives them some spending power if they do want to add a veteran. Now, I think Justin Houston makes a ton of sense. Yes, there's other options out there. Guys we've talked about. We've talked about adding a veteran offensive lineman in Don Reisner. We talked about John Johnson III. We talked about possibly bringing Troy Hill back or Melvin Ingram, guys like that. But I think if you're looking to fill that edge rusher spot, if you're not going to make a big trade for one, I think Houston makes a ton of sense because, one, he's still highly productive at this stage of his career. He's had a long, successful career. He's played 12 years in the NFL. His best seasons came when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. He made the All-Pro team in 2014. He made 4 straight Pro Bowls from 2012 to 2015, but he's still kicking. He's still productive even at age 34. Last year with the Baltimore Ravens, he had 9.5 sacks. He had 17 quarterback hits in 14 games. He's still very capable at applying consistent pressure on the quarterback, and that's what this Rams team need. Like I said earlier, 38 sacks is not going to get it done, and he can absolutely help in that department. Last year, he had a 13.7% pressure rate to go along with those 9.5 sacks, had 7 tackles for a loss during the 2022 season. So this is a guy that he has the ability, he has the versatility, tons of moves in his bag. You see him use that stutter, use that hesitation. And I think him alongside Aaron Donald, they just need a little bit of space. You need a little bit of space, and you can wreak havoc. And I think that they can combine to be a really fierce tandem along that defensive line and get after the quarterback. And I like the idea of bringing in Justin Houston. I think you consider the fact that he had a cap hit of $3.5 million in 2022. His market value is listed at $5.3 million. So if you could get him around $5 million, that would make a ton of sense. Now, there are a lot of reports out there that he's not rushing to find a team right now. And if you're the Rams, you definitely need some money to have some breathing room during the season to sign guys. You got to pay the rookies. You want to maintain some flexibility. But if he's out there and he's willing to sign with the Rams and join this team, I think it'd make all the sense in the world. Because you look at last season, Michael Hoyt at that position, look, yes, he was productive. Had 4.5 sacks in 6 games. That made some sense at the time, but it was out of necessity, right? He He was there because they didn't have many options. He's really at its best when he's in the interior line right there. He's a guy that's north of 300 pounds. That's not your prototypical edge rusher. And another factor, too, I think leadership. I think a veteran presence, a veteran savvy. We know how many rookies you're going to have next year, as many as 9 rookies on this defense. You need some more vets if you seriously want to make a playoff push. And I think that that is what this team wants to do. And we know that this is a guy that has played on some really great teams under really great coaches. And I think you look at Byron Young. If you really want Byron Young to be the guy in the future, you bring in a vet and he can take him under his wing, show him the tricks of the trade. And I think that will benefit the Rams as well. So checks off a lot of boxes, can help this year, can help Rams players in the future. And I also think, too, the Rams within this organization, they're confident that they're going to contend. They truly believe that they're going to be a surprise team in the NFL. You've seen teams build on the fly. You've seen teams remodel on the fly and retool. Teams like the Seahawks last year, who no one believed in. Philadelphia Eagles, they made their rebuild quickly too. So the Rams know that they have pillars in place. You have the cornerstones in place. And when you have an elite quarterback, who in my opinion is still top 5 when he's healthy, you have Sean McVay, who's still top 5 in the league. You have Cooper Kupp, who's top 2, not 2 in the league at his position, in my opinion. And you have Aaron Donald, who's the best player on the planet. You still owe it to yourself to keep that championship window open and go for it. And I think adding a veteran would make a lot of sense. And I think it would really show the direction that this Rams team is going this season. So I love the idea of bringing in Justin Houston. And we're going to break down several possible free agent signings in future episodes. But this one is my first one. I'm going Justin Houston, give him that contract, around $5 million, have him come in, be a role model, show that veteran savvy, but also produce and be the edge rusher that this team so desperately needs. But coming up in our final segment, we're talking more Stetson Bennett. You won't want to miss what Sean McVay had to say about his rookie quarterback. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcast. And also a special shout out to those everyday listeners. You guys can be an everyday listener too. You definitely want to join that club. You'll never miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. And also one more reminder, if you want to see the video version of the show, check us out over on YouTube. But here in the final segment, we're talking about Stetson Bennett, because Stetson Bennett has been one of the big talking points from Rams OTAs, from Rams minicamp, because he's really made an impression on a lot of people, not just his coaches, not just his teammates, also the fans. I love the social media clip that the Rams posted where he's trying to guess the movie, and the picture is of Mean Girls, and he can't guess it. He thinks it's Legally Blonde. He thinks it's White Chicks. I mean, it was hilarious. You got to go over and check that out. But also, too, his teammates. Cooper Kupp, he said a lot of really nice things. He said a lot of really good things about his arm, his athleticism, the throws he's making. But now we've got Sean McVay talking about his rookie quarterback. He told reporters, I've been really pleased with him. The one thing that stands out is when the ball's in Stetson's hands, the game makes sense to him. He's got good feel for being able to get through progressions quickly. He can feel space on the back end as it relates to different coverage counters that he's seen, but he feels open areas and gets through things quickly. I love the athleticism, but there's a lot of work to be done. He stays nice and steady, doesn't get too high or low, and he's fun to be around. So yes, this is a coach. Yes, we know that when it comes to bloviating about his players, Sean McVay, he can do that with the best of him. He could have a future in politics if he wanted to, but I think I want to see him as a Hall of Fame NFL head coach. We saw what he said about Tutu Atwell last season, the season that he had. So yeah, make with what you will. You got to take it with a grain of salt, but still the things that stand out is he talks about the athleticism. I was talking about that last week, the 4.7 40 that he ran, where it looked like he pulled up at the end in the combine. He is sneaky athletic. He can make plays on the ground. And also, too, just his understanding of concepts, his understanding of defenses. He played in a scheme in Georgia where you're going up against elite defenses in the SEC. If you go back and watch that Ohio State game, he's making throw after throw to get his team back into it. He has the competitive spirit. I think that, yeah, this is definitely something where he's pretty much a lock to be, at the very least. The floor is a very solid backup quarterback, but the ceiling is a guy that, hey, you never know. I mean, if you look at today, yeah, he's a little undersized, but still, when you look at arm strength, it's solid. We look at the competitiveness he has. We look at the intangibles that he has. If he gets his shot, I think that he could be an intriguing option one day after Matthew Stafford, way after Matthew Stafford. By the way, I think Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback that is not not going anywhere anytime soon. But I think Stetson Bennett, if they ever have to use him, which you don't want to see because that means that Stafford's not in the game, I think he's going to excite Rams fans. I think he's going to be a guy you can go out there and trust to execute the offense, make plays, very Baker Mayfield-esque, things like that, the way he can try to get you back in by making big throws. And also, too, think he's just going to be a big upgrade from the Bryce Perkinses, the Wolfords of the world. Also, too, he's on a rookie contract on top of that. So I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm hearing about Stetson Bennett. And yes, even if you look at last year, I mean, he had a 90.1 PFF grade. That was fourth among SEC quarterbacks. He was Les Snead's favorite quarterback in the draft. Last time he played at SoFi Stadium, he won the national championship game. Like I've said, that George is basically AAA for the Rams at this point. And hey, who would you want? You want the college that's winning championships, right? That's the college that's winning national championships. The Rams are winning Super Bowls. So you love that pipeline. I do think it's very interesting that in his fifth year of college, he was the same age as, of course, Lamar Jackson was in his fifth year in the NFL, and people talk about his age. I have on this show, but I also think, too, that benefits him. He has experience. He has maturity, and I think he's going to be able to come in, step in when he gets the opportunity and perform well. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dmac_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.